Imagine a city where people couldn't stop dancing. Their feet are broken, their bodies are drenched in sweat and blood, but the dance just won't end. Welcome to the mysterious dancing plague of 1518. It all started in Strasbourg, France. In July 1518, a woman named Frau Trophia stepped out of her house and began to dance. Not a happy, joyful dance, but a frantic, almost desperate jig. She danced for hours, then for days. Her husband begged her to stop, but she couldn't. It was as if her body was no longer her own. Within a week, something even stranger happened. About 34 other people joined her, dancing uncontrollably in the streets. The city officials were baffled. They consulted the local doctors, who, surprisingly, didn't blame it on supernatural forces. Instead, they diagnosed the problem as hot blood, a theory that an overheated brain was causing the feverish dancing, and their prescription was even more bizarre: more dancing. They believed the only way to cure the plague was to let the dancers exhaust themselves. So, the authorities cleared out the city's largest market squares. They even built a wooden stage and hired professional musicians and paid dancers to keep the afflicted moving. The idea was to create a non-stop dance party to sweat the fever out. You can just imagine the scene: a city square filled with people, some dancing wildly, others collapsing from exhaustion, while a band plays on. It must have looked like a surreal, macabre festival. But the cure was far worse than the disease. The relentless, non-stop dancing took a brutal toll. People's feet were raw and bleeding. They were dehydrated and starving. The constant motion led to heart attacks, strokes, and sheer physical exhaustion. Day after day, more people collapsed and died in the streets, their bodies unable to handle the strain. Contemporary accounts claim that at its peak, the plague was killing up to 15 people per day. The dance of life had become a dance of death. Within a month, the number of dancers had swelled to around 400. The city descended into a state of panic and horror. The stages were taken down, the music was stopped. Realizing their medical approach had failed spectacularly, the officials turned to a more spiritual solution. They banned all public dancing and music. The remaining dancers were rounded up and taken to a shrine dedicated to Saint Vitus, who was believed to have the power to cure dancing-related ailments. They were given small crosses and red shoes and led around a golden statue of the saint. And then, as mysteriously as it had started, the dancing began to slow down. Within a few weeks, most of the dancers had regained control of their bodies. The dancing plague of 1518 was over. The city of Strasbourg slowly returned to normal, but the memory of those terrifying weeks lingered. So, what actually happened? For centuries, historians and scientists have tried to solve this mystery. One of the leading theories points to ergotism, a type of poisoning caused by a fungus called Claviceps purpurea, which can grow on rye and other grains. This fungus produces psychoactive chemicals similar to LSD. Ingesting contaminated bread could have caused hallucinations, muscle spasms, and convulsions, which might have looked like frantic dancing. This theory makes sense because the region was known for rye cultivation, and wet, damp conditions that summer could have promoted the fungus's growth. However, there are problems with this theory. While ergot does cause spasms, it also restricts blood flow to the limbs, which would make coordinated dancing for days on end almost impossible. Also, why would hundreds of people have the exact same reaction? It seems unlikely that an entire community would respond to a poison with such a specific, organized behavior. Another compelling explanation is a psychological one: mass psychogenic illness, or what used to be called mass hysteria. Imagine the context of 1518. The people of Strasbourg were living under extreme stress. They had just endured famine, poverty, and rampant diseases like smallpox and syphilis. Their lives were filled with hardship and a deep, superstitious fear. In this environment, a single, highly public event like Frau Trophia's dancing could act as a trigger. The stress and anxiety could have manifested physically, spreading like a contagion through a community that was already on edge. The dancing could have been a trance-like state, a collective coping mechanism for unbearable psychological distress. The belief in Saint Vitus, who was said to punish sinners with uncontrollable dancing, could have fueled the phenomenon. People believed they were cursed, and so their bodies acted accordingly. This theory explains why the cure of more dancing only made things worse, validated the behavior, and intensified the hysteria. It also explains why a spiritual intervention at the shrine of Saint Vitus seemed to work, by shifting the collective belief from a curse to a cure. The authorities may have inadvertently provided a psychological off-ramp for the dancers. The trance was broken because people believed it could be. But even this theory doesn't answer everything. How could a psychological state push the human body so far beyond its normal limits, causing people to literally dance themselves to death? The human mind is powerful, but is it powerful enough to override the body's most basic survival instincts for weeks at a time? And that's where the story leaves us. Was it a freak poisoning from tainted bread? Was it a case of mass hysteria born from extreme stress and superstition? Or was it something else entirely, something we still don't understand? The historical records are clear that this happened. Hundreds of people danced, and many died. But the ultimate why remains elusive. The dancing plague of 1518 is a chilling reminder of a time when the line between the mind, the body, and the world was terrifyingly thin. It's a story that feels like it's straight out of a horror movie, but it was horrifyingly real. It forces us to ask just how much control we really have over ourselves. The final unresolved twist is that we may never know the real answer. The music has stopped, but the mystery dances on. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as I did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more dives into the strangest corners of history. See you next time.